So since making this video earlier about exposing the true reason why Toto Wolff did not take any action in the aftermath of Abu Dhabi to correct the result of that race, I've been to the BBC website to have a look at other things, but stumbled across Andrew Benson's article and see if that's different, see if Andrew can shed more light on the situation. But in typical fashion, Andrew Benson just repeats the narrative. Wolff to sell stake valuing Mercedes F1 at 4.6 billion. Well, 4.5 to 4.6. That's a difference of £100 million. Pocket change, perhaps. But there's a difference there. Andrew Benson, the F1 correspondent, maybe has been demoted from chief. 11th of November 2025. Toto Wolff is in advanced talks to sell part of his shareholding in the Mercedes Formula One team. The deal values Mercedes at 4.6 billion, a record for an F1 team, after McLaren were valued at 3.5 billion. So we've got a difference in the figures here, but ignore all that. In a change of ownership structure in September, Wolff, who owns 1/3 of Mercedes F1, would sell a shareholding in the region of 5%. So work the figures through. 4.6 billion. That is £4,600 million. 10% of that is £460 million. If Wolff is selling a stake, which is not just 5% of his stake, it's 5% of the entire team. Okay, and if he owns 1/3 of it, then he's responsible. If he owns 33% of the team, 5% of that, he's the one that's selling that on. He'll get the money for that, leaving him with a 28% stake. But 10% of 4.6 billion is £460 million. 5%, therefore, being £230 million. Toto Wolff is likely to receive £230 million. Now, prior to Abu Dhabi 2021, when the team had a value closer to 3 billion, based on what people project they think something is worth, if somebody is willing to pay that amount of money, then Toto's stake, well, let's go do it this way, a 5% stake would cost then £150 million. Toto's now going to get £230 million, an increase of £80 million to Toto Wolff. So you can perpetrate a fraud. You can be part of a global fraud, playing your part in a global fraud, and you personally enrich yourself by £80 million by being part of the facade. So, yes, tough on crime, tough on the proceeds of crime. The UK Serious Fraud Office. But then we do have to look into potential conflicts of interest of certain officers within the Serious Fraud Office, as one of these tabs that I've got here. Caroline Fisbrook. She's got a little bit of a conflict of interest. Husband is chair of Surrey Heartlands Integrated Care Trust and aligned with Strategic Command and Defence Intelligence, who supplies them with all of their computing system. Oracle, yeah, that'd be Oracle. Caroline Fisbrook, we'll come to that one. Let's have a look at Caroline Fisbrook. I've looked at her, if I've still got the tab open for that. Here's Caroline Firstbrook, sorry, mispronounced your name. Apologies, Caroline. That you're a director, a non-executive director of the Serious Fraud Office, and your husband, works in a place. You've declared the conflict of interest. Good on you. That he's aligned with Strategic Command and Defence Intelligence, and they have a contract with Oracle. Oracle of Oracle Red Bull Racing, the beneficiary of the fraud, so you don't investigate that fraud. Don't you worry, little heads, about that. This is the way the legal system works. We turn a blind eye to crime if it's our chums that are perpetrating the crime and benefiting from the crime. So, back with Andrew Benson, because again, the BBC They're journalists. I'm going to inform you of all the information rather than just parrot what you heard in my previous video. So the deal values Mercedes at 4.6 billion, a record. Wow. The 53-year-old would stay on as team principal and chief executive officer if the sale goes through. The deal was first reported by Sportico. You've heard that before, haven't you? And BBC Sport has independently verified the information is accurate. There you go. The BBC making sure it does its checks and measures to independently verify. Did you independently verify the accuracy of the Abu Dhabi fraud, Andrew? Did you go through that? The regulations? No, you didn't, Andrew. We'll go through what you said about the Abu Dhabi fraud in a minute. The other shareholders in the team are Mercedes and chemicals giants Ineos, who each also own a third of the company. A Mercedes spokesperson said, "We will be making no comment on this. The governance of the team will remain unchanged, and all three partners are fully committed to the ongoing success of Mercedes-Benz in Formula One." The deal would represent a significant increase in the value of Mercedes F1 since Ineos bought its stake for 208 million in 2022. Now, if they bought a stake for 208 million in 2022, and that was a third, well, that would actually value the business. If a third of it's worth 208 million, then surely the whole thing has to be worth 3 times that much, just 624 million. So actually there's an increase of 4 billion. If it's now 4,600, it's almost an increase of 4 billion, isn't it? So, what's the truth here? What's the truth? What deals are being done here? If you can buy a third of something that people project as being worth 3 billion, something's worth 3 billion in total, you can buy a third of it for 200 million. That's a bargain. I'll have one. What's going on there? Did the BBC independently verify the authenticity of that information? The rise reflects the growth in valuations of F1 teams in the past few years as a consequence of the increasing appeal of the sport around the world. Oh, it's the increasing appeal of the sport based on exciting the kiddies and defrauding a global audience by constructing a show. Yes, Andrew, the one you reported on Abu Dhabi 2021. Oh, you couldn't make it up. The World Championship has gone down to the last lap of the last race of the season. They had a duel. Oh, it was exciting. Andrew's going to tell us about that in a minute. The rise reflects the growth, of the increased appeal. This was also seen in the success of the F1 movies, not Drive to Survive. It's now the F1 movie being the thing, starring Brad Pitt. Oh yes, we know Brad Pitt. We all fancy Brad Pitt. Everybody, wow! Which was released last summer and has grossed more than 600. Oh, we like giving the numbers, don't we? Well done, Andrew. You've independently verified that. At the box office, it's Pitt's most successful film and the most successful sports movie. Mercedes are second in the Constructors' Championship behind McLaren, with 3 races remaining this season. Their lead driver, George Russell, has won 2 of the 21 Grand Prix this year and is 4th in the Drivers' Championship behind McLaren's Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri and Red Bull's Max Verstappen. The team won a record 8 consecutive Constructors' Championship and 7 drivers' titles, 6 for Lewis Hamilton and 1 for Nico Rosberg, between 2024 and 2021. And that's all that Andrew can tell you about this. That's all that Andrew Benson, the BBC's F1 correspondent, can tell you. But you see, with Andrew, after Abu Dhabi 2021, after the fraud, Andrew was just able to tell you this. Well, Roz from the BBC, again, giving you the authentic breakdown of the information, the truth behind the story, because this is what Roz is there presenting to you for, to present you the truth behind what's really going on. Talk us through it, Roz.
And the sporting regulations are hugely complex as well, and the sequence of events.
Yeah, they're complex. We get it, David.
Of only allowing 5 cars to overtake Lewis before the safety car came in is not something that typically has happened before.
No, it's not typically happened before, David. It's never happened before. The reason being is what you've done there. You've just separated out two competitors to race off for victory in a multi-competitor event, and you just can't do that in sport. All right, you've picked out two of their competitors and go ignore the rest of you. We want to just see who wins over one lap between just you two. Okay, and actually in doing so, we do know that one of you is massively advantaged and the other one's got a massive disadvantage. But we want to see that race and see who wins when we set that up, because that's what actually resulted, wasn't it, David? Because what you've done, you've left two cars in between second and third, and what that does, it means that by the time the race resumes, when they cross the start finish line, that third place car, they are held back by a couple of seconds, because each time there's a difference of a car, that's at least half a second difference. So you've got Max crosses that line, and then a lapped car of Daniel Ricciardo, followed by a lapped car of Lance Stroll, then followed by Carlos Sainz's Ferrari in third, crossing that line. Oh, that's 2 seconds behind. You're not going to be catching that up in a lap. You're out of that race. You're blocked off, essentially. Whilst the other cars have to part like the Red Sea to allow you to go through, you're still that time difference back. You're not going to catch that up. So you've skewed the outcomes in that race. So David saying, well, that's not typically what they do there. Thank you for that, David. Insight there. Very, very complex for you to identify that, David. But on the BBC, to explain it to the global audience that it is trying to project to, the message from the Empire, everybody.
So if David Coulthard says that, does that mean the race director was wrong? Not necessarily.
Does that mean the race director was wrong? Not necessarily.
The FIA do have another rule which allows the race director to override that and make the decision he feels is correct.
No, they don't, David. No, they don't. You see, they don't have a rule which allows the race director to override a mandatory regulation, because the race director has to oversee the event and ensure safety. Okay, take the appropriate measures to ensure safety and take the appropriate measures to ensure sporting fairness to all competitors. Okay, you are making sure that event is carried out in accordance with the regulations for that purpose. You don't have a regulation that says, just let the race director do what he wants. Let him ignore this regulation, which by ignoring it, it does skew the outcomes for these competitors, but he's allowed to do that. But our sporting expert here, David, former Formula One driver, expert, that's being presented by the BBC, he can't tell you that. Did you independently verify the accuracy of what David was doing there? Because Andrew Benson did tell us that, you've independently verified the claims of Mercedes, Toto seeking to sell his stake in Mercedes. You've independently verified all this, have you?
Which leads us to BBC Sports F1 correspondent Andrew Benson's conclusion that the sporting regulations do not cover this specific situation.
They do.
Conclusion that the sporting regulations do not cover this
specific situation. Yes, they do, Andrew. They absolutely do. 48.12. Okay. And if you actually understood, Andrew, because you are the chief, there you are, you were the chief back then, Andrew. As the chief, you'd expect to know something about the subject that you're reporting to the people about, and therefore you'd expect that you understood the sport, okay, had observed it over a period of time to understand what's actually going on, the implications of what's going on, and if there's a problem, be able to reference the rules and regulations and explain those to people. Independently verify it, Andrew. Yeah, that's what you'd expect, wouldn't it? Rather than just comply with the narrative to perpetrate the fraud. To not expose the fraud, Andrew. Yeah, that. So you would think you'd have read the safety car regulations, which essentially say once you deploy the safety car, these are the procedures that relate to that safety car. Now, once that safety car is deployed in a race, when cars haven't been lapped, and so there's no lapping of the cars, the minimum requirement is the safety car won't be withdrawn until the leader is behind the safety car and all of the other competitors are in a line behind that leader. So what has that done, Andrew? Well, that has wiped out all of the previously built up advantages between all of the competitors, and that resets the condition. We're now in a position where racing was neutralised to deal with a safety concern. All of them advantages that have been built up between all competitors, they're now wiped out because we've had to intervene in this. Racing essentially stopped. When we start racing again, we start from a scratch position for everybody. I think that's 48.10. 48.12 kicks into force when the lead cars have begun lapping the cars that are in towards the back end of the field. But that lapping, leaders can lap anybody in that race. They can lap up to second position if necessary, if they're that fast. They can lap third, they can lap fourth. If the leader's lapped second, oh, now what? Are we getting second out of the way of the race between the leaders? Is that what you're doing when you release it? No, you're wiping out the advantages, aren't you? Yeah, so what you do, you carry out the mandatory procedure. That mandatory procedure is all of the cars that qualify to be released, which all 8 did in Abu Dhabi, get released and get afforded some time to make it around the track and link up with the back of the safety car snake to to wipe out all the previously built up advantages and achieve the restart condition. And yet, Andrew Benson, the chief, says the sporting regulations do not cover this specific situation. That's a fraud, Andrew Benson. That is you lying to the world to validate a fraudulent contrivance that all of these businesses have made billions out of. The BBC, you are a fraudulent organisation. Andrew Benson, you are a fraud. You are a mind conditioning, abusing fraudster. That's exactly what you are. So, there you go. You see the BBC in the news at the moment with Donald Trump suing them for presenting fake news, for stitching together footage of him to make it appear that he said something, and that was out of context. This is the BBC validating a fraud. This is Ros Atkins validating a fraud. This is Andrew Benson validating a fraud. The sporting regulations do not cover this specific situation when they exactly do. Anyway, that'll do. Thank you for your time.